Where I would love to start, just thinking about your passion for rugs and textiles. Is that something you felt like you were passionate about early on in your childhood? Maybe your parents were in the business, or where did that come from?
No, it wasn't. It was just the work experience that I got involved with the style and products and I remember I had some of my family members were very much in very artistic in designing and coloring and painting. So I think maybe that just ran in the family. I don't know, but from the young age, I started liking the rugs and dealing with it. So it was just natural.
Oh, that's really interesting. What were you? I'm curious. Like, what did your parents do growing up? And I was
Uh,
also wondering, like, how
sh-
that might have influenced some of the
sure,
decisions you made career
sure,
wise.
sure, sure. They were not my parents, my dad and mom, neither one of them were in the rug business at all. So it was not being involved. I mean, although that I was, growing up with, surrounded with, all the product and all the rugs in our home, family home. But other than that, that was the extent of being associated with the rugs. My dad, his background was he was an accountant, and then obviously he got involved with opening up his own business at the time of dealing with some heavy equipment, construction machines, and things like that. But that was his passion to be in the business and run a company.
Did you have a lot of siblings?
Had two sisters, one passed. I still have one sister and a brother. That's great. But they're all
Okay.
young, now younger. The older sister is the one who passed.
Okay. Oh, sorry to hear that. Did your mom work when you were younger as well? Or was she taking care of
No,
the household?
she was taking care of the household.
Okay.
She didn't work.
When you, that's the hardest job, right? Mom has
That's
the
right.
hardest job, right? I tell that
No,
to my wife all the time.
she
Yeah.
really did raise the kids still.
Yeah. When you think back to lessons from either of your parents that you wanted to instill in the boys, is there a lesson or two that comes to mind?
Boy, there's so much of lessons, but I guess some of the most important ones that I remember was uh, the givenness of it to be that was something that just it was I watched my dad and mom and so much that learned from them that they were more than willing to do so much for the others in life if whether it was money to be given or help to be given and anything that could be able to help others. They were very much volunteering that. And one thing that I learned, especially from my father, was walk straight line. That was something that he always taught me in life. There's other paths, there are other shorter cuts, but a straight line would just be the one that I think you should take your path, son. And I took his advice.
Do you think he was, when you think like sort of what he was trying to teach you, was it more around like integrity, you think? What do you
Yes,
think?
yes. So much about the integrity, so much about uh, life is not about shortcuts. Life is about how you do things in the right way. So you always will be remembered as someone above and beyond that people will be expecting from you.
I love that. So, when did you move to the States? Like, how old were you roughly?
I was about 16 years old. That was in 1976, approximately what, 48 years ago or so. That's if I remember all correctly. That's how long it's been.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so what was it like at that point in your life? Like what do you remember? If you're 16, did you move with your family? Was like a
Uh,
big, was it a big upheaval? Like it sounds like obviously
yeah.
moving to this country.
It was a big change obviously in my life. I always dreamed about uh getting higher education, learning obviously English and be able to go to school for a better education. And obviously at that time was the plan was to go back. But
Oh,
I came all by myself, uh, going to high school. But obviously, it was before the revolution took place, and once the revolution took place, then everything changed. I'll stay behind.
so you were thinking just to come for a couple of years, and then to sounds like
No,
to
I
go
was
back.
coming to go to finish the high school and then go to college and then go back. Yes, I was gonna get my higher
Oh,
education. The plan was 5, 6 years of studying and go back home. So
how did you guys? I'm just curious because it sounds really hard, but like, and you're pretty young at that time. But how did you guys make that decision that you're just going to go by yourself? Right? It sounds crazy
it
now,
was
right?
it
Yeah,
was crazy. Yes, it was
yeah.
crazy. But I had a family member that who sponsored me to come, and not that I was gonna stay with him, but I was gonna be staying with older couple at the time. Just go to high school and then continue my education. That was the plan. But it still was a very, very cultural change, and especially not knowing any language and just adapting, adjusting to the culture and everything else was taking place and being away from your family. It was a rough time. It was a tough times, but
It's like
yeah,
telling
yeah.
your kids you're going to go to France. I know you don't speak French, but you're going to live there for the next 5 years. Good
There
luck.
you go. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
I was up
So
to the challenges always, so that was my nature.
yeah. Um. And so, uh, you mentioned like learning English. Was that being taught in Iran, or was that not?
It was taught, but it was very, very basics. Now I remember it would be just very basics, very, just try to uh, write and read a little bit, but just the normal conversation. It was not
Okay.
so much was there for us to learn. So it was not that you're being surrounded with English speaking people. So that was learn a few words here and there by associating myself, going to places and talking to some of our neighbors were remember Americans that are just in our across the street that live right there. So I always took the opportunity to play with the kids and talking to the parents and learning with just talking just a little basic of English, hoping that I can learn. But it wasn't much when I came here. I realized it wasn't much of a help.
No, yeah. I mean, sounds like me ordering a burrito in Spanish.
They,
Maybe I could do that. What do you remember about that? Like that flight? Do you remember back like that flight, like that first day? I mean, that
yeah,
sounds.
yeah. I remember all that. Just was always so clear that it was just wow. This is the reality now. This is the did I make the right decision? This is I'm gonna be able to make it. I don't want to call my parents 6 months from now and just say, I made a big mistake. I want to go back. I don't want to be a crying baby. And I want to act like I was a grown up. But I was 16 years old. I still was a very, very young man when I think about it. But it was, I thought that's where my future is going to be. So that's why I stayed very strong and dealt with all the things was just coming toward me.
Yeah. Did your siblings think you were crazy, or were they supportive
They they
at the
they
time?
they, they were supportive. That they thought that's if that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do. So that's I took a chance.
What do you think was the hardest part of the adjustment? You mentioned the language barrier, the culture. Like, what do you think
Yeah,
in terms of that?
culture, the language, and getting to know people, getting to find friends, getting to have some kind of a conversation was
Mm,
dialogue was a most difficult part of it. Getting to know the people, getting people wanted to get to know you, but you couldn't have that normal dialogue that today anyone can have if you were born here. That was a challenging part, but I wasn't about to give up, so I stayed with it, and I wanted to learn the language, so I just keep pursuing having my conversations with everyone. Maybe it was the most boring things for everyone, but it was something that I wanted to keep having those conversations.
Wow. Okay. So you get here. Are you in Dallas at this point, or where are you?
Dallas has been home ever since 1976. Yes.
Okay. And so you're going to high school. Are you
Correct.
working? What are you doing at that
I'm
point?
going to high school, but it seems like there's a lot of spare times, and at the time I started working, getting jobs at at Burger King and flipping burgers, and uh, started to learn few words, to learn about a patty, learning about tomatoes and lettuce, and just talk, what is French fries, and started to having, at least have some conversations with other people, and there and working at Baskin Robbins, I remember for a short bit of a time, just every opportunity, whether it was restaurant, whatever it was, I wanted to work. I wanted to experience working and learning more and more, adapting to the culture. That was my main goal.
Uh, in terms of the language, did you learn through school, or did you mainly learn through just like throwing yourself in the fire and having conversations, or both?
Both, but mainly throwing yourself into the fire. That was
Okay.
that was my goal. That was I was in a mission that I gotta learn the language. I gotta, obviously, the school helped a lot,
Yeah.
but it was mainly really by having a conversation, learning through just every day by dealing with people.
Okay. When you think back to those jobs, like at fast food places, things like that, I always say like working for my parents at their restaurant growing up taught me so much. I'm sure it did to you too, but like, what do you think of the lessons that you learned in those types of jobs that, maybe you still hold to today?
Uh, it, it, it told me that it's not only about you, it's about a team. I learned so much about the teamwork, that everyone collaboratively did the job, not only individual person, whether I was working at a frying station, frying French fries or onion rings, or making the Whopper and putting it out there. It was the collaboration that everyone did certain things to complete that sandwich, to get it out, that meal, to get it out to the hand of the consumers at a time. So I just learned that it takes a team rather than individual person. That was one thing that I learned from the very on.
That sounds amazing. I also felt like, and maybe if you agree, but like just learning how people think, like learning, like you're on the other side, you have customers, and that just communication with people, like I felt
Well,
like was such a
that
huge
was
lesson.
what well, that's why I didn't give up where I was. I was, obviously, because of my lack of uh, English at the time. I was put in the back only, and working in the kitchen part. But shortly, not very long after, I requested my manager. I said, I want to go work in the front. I want to be dealing with customer. The guy looked at me and said, "Are you crazy? What are you talking about?" I said, "Oh, I want to go in the front. I want to be able to take the orders. Those days was not a computer orders that you took. It was not. It was you took the order on a and then you announced it on a PA system to the back, and so everybody was hearing it. Just so it was. But I wanted to communicate with the customers. I wanted to meet with the people. I wanted to get acclimated with my environment so much more, and that was something that I insisted on, and okay, they agreed. Okay, it started with the last hour of the evening. We'll put you on there. There was the least amount of traffic, and started giving me more and more opportunities. That's how I got to even be more into getting myself involved with doing what I was doing. I wasn't giving up.
That's really cool. Was there ever a time when you were around this age and you're doing these jobs, and was there ever a dark time where you thought maybe I made the wrong decision? You know, maybe I should call my parents or my siblings. Like, was there ever a time like that, or was it slowly just getting better?
It's slowly getting better and better. It's just that I just miss not being with them. The times that I remember that I used to spend time with them, but I was and it was very hard those days. Those phone calls were extremely expensive.
Mm,
So it was writing letters and back and forth, and that was what the norm was. So, but you get used to it. I started having friends. I started being associated with here and there. People were very receptive of. I was remember that I was the first kid in my high school that was from Iran. They didn't even know where Iran was at the time. I had to go and show everyone that on a map is south of uh, Soviet Union then, and then north of the Persian Gulf, and it just it was just you had to go and show on a map, and they were hard for them even to pronounce. How do you pronounce the name of the country? So the people didn't even know where you came from at that time. So but it was just they were very uh, good to me. They were very interested to know about my background, my culture, my everything. So it was there were a lot of times that they allowed me to have a lot of conversations with them.
that's really cool. Did you go to university around the area as well, or
Yes,
what did you do?
yes, I went to Richland College, which is the community college for the first 2 years, and then went to UTD, University of Texas in Dallas, to get
Okay.
my degree.
When did you meet your wife around this
It
time?
it was in school, and I think it was maybe a year before I was graduating that
Oh,
I met
interesting.
my wife in
Okay.
school, and happened to have a class. We had a class that we shared, and the rest was history. I started, uh, mingling and dating, and after about 3 years of dating, I believe that's the time that was right timing for me to ask her to marry me.
Oh, that's great. It sounds like things are, like you're obviously sort of found a home here in the Dallas
Yeah,
area, right? You got to
yeah,
school, like you learned the
yeah,
language at this point.
yes,
You're getting
yes.
married. And so what's the first job after you graduate?
Actually, where before I graduated, I got well, I was ten while I was going to school. I was one of my highlights was tending a bar at a very high-end French restaurant in Dallas. So I learned how to make drinks, and that was at the age of it was right at 18 years old when I was that time you had to be 18. So I attended a bar beside prior to it working as a waiters and busboys and waiters, and then tending the bar, and uh, I think 2019 it was that I was offered a job at working in a rug company. Then that's where I left tending the bar and then started working at a company in Dallas, working really getting to know the rugs, and from starting from the flipping the carpets to to selling them to everything else after that. So that was 2019. That was my first really major job.
Okay.
And while I was
Uh,
going to school, while I was still going to, so I went to school full time and I was working full time.
oh, okay. Wow. So what year was it? Not
And I paid,
2019
and that was two, that was,
or nine,
that was, 19, I'm sorry, 1979,
79. Okay.
79. And I asked, and that was prior to that. I think it was 6 months or so prior to it, or maybe even a year prior to it. Yeah, a year or 2 years prior to it, I asked my parents, don't send me any more money. Because at that time they were sending money for me to go to school and pay for my school. I said, I don't need any more money. I want to work myself. I want to pay for my way to go to school, and doing what I wanted to do. Even when I graduated from high school, I worked uh, in an ice cream truck, had an ice cream truck that I rented every day and filled up with ice cream and drove around downtown south of Dallas and sold ice cream on my own, and that was made pretty good money at that time. So
Yeah. Why do you
uh,
think you made that call to your parents? Like, why not just,
I don't know. I honestly I just thought, look, you have three other children,
mm,
even though they were fairly wealthy enough that they could support me. For some reason, I thought, uh, I don't need your help. I want to be on my own. I want to prove it that I can do it on my own. And that was, for some reason, that there was no rhyme and reason, no other rhyme and reason. It was not like they couldn't afford to send me money.
more of
I
an
just
independence? That
Well,
sounds like, yeah.
I wanted
Yeah.
to be on my own. Yes.
Okay.
So I worked full time, and went to school full time. I paid my way. In the morning, I worked all day, and then evening time, I went to school to finish my. I remember to finish up my school. I went evening time to finish up my school.
So what was like an average day? Because it sounds like
Right,
it sounds really long.
long. I
Yeah.
just There was not much of a life outside of work and just going to school.
So you just go to
That's
bed basically, and
You
then you
just
just
basically go to
yeah.
bed. That was it. Basically, no other life, no
Yeah.
other life.
Okay.
For sure, I remember that, no other life. So, but I was so determined. That's what I wanted to do.
At that point, did you know like what you wanted to do was work in the rug business, or like when did you sort of figure that out?
I want to be involved in the business.
Okay.
I didn't know anything else differently. I didn't know anything better. Once I finished, I mean, I learned a lot doing what I was doing. So I was started making a good money, doing what I was doing. I was selling rugs at the time to the interior design community. That's what the company was
Okay.
based at for selling uh, to the designers, and I find myself very easy to be able to give that service and work with the interior designers. I enjoy doing that, and I enjoy
Mm.
the products. I enjoy working with the people. So that was my joy.
What was your first job in the rug business? Like first,
I was
yeah.
sweeping the floors and loading up the truck, the van, and for deliveries and just from very basics of it as a stock boy basically,
Yeah.
and while I was going to school, and then I worked my way into learning how about the products, learning how to sell, and that was it. That was The rest was history. It was every day I improved. Every day I became the best salesperson in selling the rugs, and customers love to work with me. I was doing better than anybody else, so I just climbed up.
Did you ever get overwhelmed by like the next job or the next responsibility or the next thing?
I was asking for. I wanted to take on more additional responsibility. It was what I did the day before was not good enough. It was not enough. For me, I want to take on more challenges. I ask for more challenges every day that I wanted to do more. That was my goal. I wanted to achieve more. I want to take on more customers. I was at, anybody that was coming in, if I could help them, I would help them, extra help, whatever that I needed to do. But the people got used to working with me. They liked my services. So I built a big followers in
Yeah.
the design community that they supported, and I just keep growing at it, doing what I did. And it became the showroom manager, the sales manager, and a lot of salespeople reporting to me, and managing the showroom, and just keep growing and doing what I did.
When you think about that time and all those customers you've been working with, what at that point, what was the nicest compliment you ever got?
That they had so much trust on my taste that they will bring me the fabrics and the floor plans, and they will give it to me. Or come back in a couple of hours with my clients, or I'll come back tomorrow. You make the selection of what my needs are, and that's what I did. I pulled out everything that I thought it looked the best, and sometimes for the satisfaction of their customer, their client, we'll go back to the stacks of looking at products again. Well, no, everything the mirror you chose, you selected, that's the best. So I'll build on that. I'll build that reputation, that's the compliment, that I was good at what I was doing. They
Wow.
love
Yeah.
what I was doing. They love my taste level, that I knew immediately when I saw a swatch of the fabric. I already knew what products that I had, what rugs that I had that went with it so beautifully, and what size didn't. I mean, I knew that inventory, yeah, just by remembering the product.
You almost became the interior designer
I
yourself.
did, I did, I
Right.
did. I helped them. I saved them a lot of time, and a lot of headaches, and
Yeah.
I made life easier for them. One of the things that I did for them, I always volunteered to deliver the rugs to the clients' homes, as instead of giving it to delivery services, instead of giving it to the driver with a van to tell. I always volunteered. I'll bring the rugs to your house myself. I'll bring the client's house. That was part of the service that I did personally. Nobody was telling me what to do, what not to do. It was me personally that I chose to do that, because I want to get to know the people. I want to get to
Mm.
know the house that they had. Then I offer them another rug, another whatever else, that it just they got used to me. They trusted me. They liked me as a person. Once they do that, then everything else became so much easier.
You said a word I think is that we often overlook, and you said reputation, right? You hear like your reputation always precedes you. Um, or there's a saying of like death by a thousand paper cuts. You build your reputation up, and it's not one thing we do to mess it up. It's the small things that we do that degrade a reputation over time. I always think about this. Why do you think it's so important, especially in this business, to build a reputation that is a good one?
Everyone has a lot of alternative, a lot of choices. Where you want to go shop, where you want to go get your services, is you choose to go and deal with someone or an entity that you care and you trust, that because of what they always do and what they always come to deliver. That is something that always stayed in me ever since, from being a young kid, that you gotta be above and beyond what anybody else's expectations, and you're always gonna win.
Is that, and I haven't looked at this, but is that also like a company value in a sense? How do you think of that?
Everything is about our company today, is how will we be above and beyond what everybody else's expectations are. If we can achieve that every day, that's
Mm.
what our coach, that's what our guide everyone today is. How do we become better than the past? Our yesterday was great, but not good enough. What can we do better today? And what is our achievements for tomorrow?
Well, I love that. So Cyrus mentioned you worked at this company. If it's, I'm not sure if it's the same company, but you worked in the business for 20, 25 years,
25 years in that
25
company.
years. Um,
And I left, I was the president of the company. That's basically I was doing everything that I do for my own today.
okay. Why did you stay there so long? Could you have left earlier? Was it just good timing for you? You learned everything you needed to learn and go on your own? Just tell me about that for a little bit.
I don't think you can learn everything that you know today. Every
Mm,
day you learn something new, fresh. So the timing, it could have been 5 years, 10 years prior to it. That would have been, it would be fine too. It was just at the time I felt like that was the right timing for me to move on and start my own business. And I think that was the decision that I made. It wasn't any other reasons that that I knew more at that time I graduated. I've learned everything. No, it's not. I'm still learning today,
yeah.
every day of doing what I do.
And so, how old are the kids at the point that you're leaving the company? Or are they born yet?
I think Cyrus was 16 or 15,
Okay.
and then Stephen was just barely turned 18, I believe. Just uh, s- still, I think both of them were still in high school, if I'm not making
Wow.
a
Okay.
mistake.
Did the
Yeah.
family think that was a good idea, or is it a bad idea to leave?
I had, the kids they were not, uh, they were not an age that they knew what my work ethic was, so they knew I was gonna be fine. But the biggest supporter of the whole thing was my wife. She's the one who always believed in me, who always pushed me, who always told me, you can do this for yourself and more. Our kids are grown. If we need to start our business, your business, I'm supportive of you. Whatever we need to do, if you need to sell the house, if we need to sell our cars, whatever it is that you need, I'm a big supporter. I'm a big believer. I know you can make it on your own. Even though we had an extremely a comfortable life, walking away from doing what I was doing, it was extremely a hard decision. When you have that kind of a comfortable life, it was very, very difficult to walk away. But she encouraged me and she helped me to walk away, and that's what I did.
Was she working in the business, or was she doing something else professionally, or taking care of
No,
the kids?
she was in a mortgage business. She was
Okay.
doing she was in the financing, and she she wanted to help. She wanted to help at whatever cost was. She wanted to help to bring the family closer together and perhaps a better future for everyone. She was willing to take the chance at the time.
What do you think was the hardest part about starting? I know you had a lot of background, obviously. You mentioned, there's a lot you're learning. I think Cyrus mentioned, my dad was never an attorney. There's things that like you've got to learn or get the right support around. But when you think back to, I think it was 2004. Um,
That's right.
what was
I left 2003, end of July of 2003. So I had about 6 months of a gap to think through all that. Initially, I wanted to go in a retail business, move to California with the family at the time and open up a retail uh, store in Northern California. And then, just things didn't just materialize and stayed behind and thought about going to doing what I'm doing today in developing products and being a wholesale business and at that time. So that was the period of time that I worked on developing product and showed for the first time in 2004, in January 2004.
And so, when you're starting this type of a business, do you have to like raise money? Are you funding it yourself? Like, what is it? What does that look like?
Obviously I had some savings,
Okay.
not enough, obviously, to get the business of to. So I had to start it very small. What I had was that reputation that we talk about,
Mhm.
the love that I had from the manufacturing side, all the manufacturers from all around the world that I used to work with, they all they opened up their arms. That whatever, however I wanted to be working with them, they were welcoming because I was the one that who was doing all the work in creating product. So they were more than willing to help me with with the finances of the products and extending the credit to me. And then at the same time, all the customers around the country that who knew me when I left, they also opened up their arm and was more than willing to help and support Amir Loloi in a business. It was just a combination of both that helped me that I don't need to have so much money. So, but in the started
Wow.
small,
Yeah.
obviously. I started small and just work work my way,
Yeah.
just a little at a time.
This goes back to your reputation, to your point, right? So they trusted you, they knew you, they wanted to be a
Yes.
part of
They
what you were
wanted to be
doing.
part of. They wanted to support. They wanted me to be. The industry at that time wanted Loloi to be a part of the industry. And even though I was so small, even though they knew my background, they knew my knowledge, they knew my integrity, they knew everything that I was be able to do to the industry, they helped me to become a, a bigger a part of the industry. They welcome me. Even though at the time when I started, there was so much of a competition. There were so many people in the business at the time, with all levels of it. But there I was be able to find my way in to get into the business in a much
How
small way.
day one, how many like SKUs or like, styles
I
are
know
you?
I thought about that. I can tell you that the showroom that I that I that I think that the first showroom opened up in Atlanta Market Center was about uh 1,100 square feet. I think our little bistro in High Point is maybe 2.5 times bigger than the first showroom that I started with, and just really handful of SKUs and collections that I started with. And thinking about it, that it was not anything that today I would be very proud of it today, but at the time it was good enough that a lot of people gave me tremendous amount of support, where customers came in, whether it was the Macy's of the world
Hmm.
to the Home Goods of the world, to places to the specialty stores of the world, that they came in and they wrote some orders and picked products from what I was showing, not asking how much it is and not asking when is the delivery. Those are not part of the vocabulary. That was when you saw my showroom at that time was full of flowers, full of chocolates, full of gifts where people were sending to the showroom. It meant so much to me that people wanted me to be a part of the industry. Even our competition, even our people that are in the industry would walk up to the showroom and congratulate me to start my own business. Everyone was shocked that
Wow.
I left where I was to start such a small company at the time.
What did that mean to you to get that support? That sounds really amazing.
It was I would there were times I had tears in my eyes. I would just sit back and just say, How, is this for real? Is this for real? It wasn't about making money at the time, obviously, at all. It was just about, is this for real, that you have so much orders you taking at a time that uh, people didn't even ask when the delivery is. You just deliver whenever. It was unreal. It was something that it was just very touching for me at the time. So that's why today I don't forget the people who helped me to be in business today. Even the smallest people at the time, I really appreciate everything they've done for me and how they helped me to be where I am.
Wow. So if I'm thinking of it correctly, you're not opening a showroom to sell a rug to a consumer. You're getting
No,
orders like
from
from
from from
very large
retailers, from
companies. Yeah.
retailers. Yes, yes. They all knew me. They all knew me as my previous company, and just they all were happy that I can. They wanted to help me to start my business. That's all
Yeah.
I can tell you. They're very, very supportive of that.
How did it, when you left, if you're open to talking about it, you leave a company you're at for 25 years. Were they supportive of you leaving, or was that hard?
They did not take it so well. It was very, very hard. They did not want me to leave, obviously. It was, um, I was everything to that company.
Does time help, you
Uh,
think, in those like relate like I've seen firsthand my parents and relationships and things like that? Does time heal, you think?
the thing has healed some, not totally. It was still not in the best of the relationship, but but it's okay. It's at least when we see one another, we potentially can say hello to each other. But that's it. It was very, very difficult for the company to let me go. Let me put it this way. It took a long time for my departure. They didn't want me to leave.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I just imagine it's such a hard decision, especially if you're to your point, you're sort of the glue
Yes,
for the machine. And
yes, yes,
it sounds like a lot of this business is based on loyalty and
yes.
relationships and reputation,
Absolutely. So
over,
much,
yeah, over a couple decades. Your equity in the industry becomes so much greater.
so much, so much. Yes.
Um, okay, so now like the boys are, they're in high school and then they're like sort of
College,
graduating,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? um I think it was Cyrus that said like you didn't force him to be in the business, but how did you think about like, how did you think about maybe getting them involved? Do you give them some space? How did that work
So,
out?
so I think it's really truly everyone's dreams to have the children to be a part of their business. If you own a
Mm,
business, you want your kids to be part of that. You want so I think it started with Stephen when the older one that he graduated. He went to uh, NYU for his bachelor's, and then uh, he went to LSE for London School of Economics for his master's, and he finished his master's in 1 year. I think in a full 1 year of a 12 months period. So when he graduated, he wanted to go to law school. When he graduated, he came back. I think it was end of September, and all the schools already started. So he had a year or so
mm,
of a period that that I said, look, if you want to join the company, if you want to work while you wait to go to school or whatever you want to do. And he decided that he wants to work and at the time. And once he started working, then he got a lot of taste of, hey, there's a lot he can contribute and a lot he can bring. And so he started liking it more and more and more. He decided not to pursue of going to law school and so I think at the time that Cyrus was already in his school, and then once he graduated, he got a job in San Francisco, I believe, close to. school that he went to, Santa Clara University. He got a job and he was working there, but he saw how hard things are, and obviously he was not having the similar lifestyle his brother had, doing what he was doing. So I called him out and said one day, I said, Cyrus, uh, I want to have a conversation with you. If you want to, I want to let you know that your brother is doing well, the company is doing well. I just don't want you to think one day that you didn't get the similar opportunity as your brother had. He said, well, Dad, I love California. I love. I said, look, one thing I want you to do is just come to the one of our shows, closest one, Vegas market. Come and see who we are at the time. And if you like to see what you see, and if you decided, see if you want to join the company, he came and he liked it and he started talking to me about it. I said, look, if he said, but I love California. I said, look, how about this deal? You can start with a company, but uh, every time that you want to go to California, there's a ticket the company will buy for you. You want to go every weekend. You want to go back to California, go back, see your friends and everything else. I think he took it out one time, maybe out max,
Yeah,
and rest was history. He enjoyed doing what they do, and I'm very proud of him. They love doing what they do, and that's the story behind the
that's
boys.
really cool. I appreciate you sharing that. And it
I
sounds
did
like,
not force him. I did not
yeah,
force either one
yeah,
of them. I maybe perhaps I tricked him to it,
yeah.
but
You've led them to the
yeah.
decision. I think my dad fired me 5 or 6 times when I worked at the restaurant. Yes, my mom would say I get fired once a month.
There you go.
But it sounds like they both had different unique skill sets. How do you
Yes.
think, how do you, when you just think of like, your boys joining the company, how did that maybe change things for the better, do you think? Because obviously,
Well,
we all look at things through one lens,
sure, sure.
and I'm sure you appreciate and value their input. I'm just curious, like, how do you feel like that maybe changed the company?
It changed a lot. I had a obviously I was more of an old-fashioned. Even my younger days, I still was sort of an old-fashioned compared to them. So they wanted, they were so much they want to add value to the company. They just didn't want to work here and just draw salaries. They want to bring in. Their thought was that uh, this industry there's something wrong with our industry, that there's no branding, there's no one in the industry, there's no company that is known out there in an eye of a consumer. This is something that they just they saw that opportunity. And I think, at that time I just say, look, it's not about the company, it's about the product, it's about, who cares, that end user, who cares what products, whose name is on it. But they were very determined that that's where the opportunity was. Obviously, helping the company to streamline things, and growing and expanding, and want to just grow the company. And so they felt like they want to put their share into it, and they did.
Wow, that's interesting. Would you say they were, really interested in doing those like big partnerships that you guys do?
Oh, that was them. That's so much of the ideas, all of them. That was about my pay grade.
Yeah.
They're the one who wanted to associate. They wanted to have those associations. They wanted to reach out. They wanted to expand. They wanted to get the association with Loloi, and getting the more and more endorsement.
Yeah.
And that's what helped the company earlier on, just to keep pushing us to the next level.
Do you think present day, the knowing that someone, is gonna, I remember I needed something just like a runner, and I was at Kohl's and I saw your rugs and I thought it was like silky smooth. I was like, all right, I already know this is gonna last, right? Like as a consumer, I know I don't have to come back here,
Yeah.
in 2 weeks to return something. Do you feel like that paid off
It,
now? Like,
it
how do you see the? the
Yeah,
branding
it
aspect.
has paid off tremendously because now where we attend to the markets, and we see why and how our showroom is much, much busier than everybody else's, is is their retailers almost been asked and forced that they should carry the Loloi products. There's the endorsement now that they have, that the consumers are feel trusting to be having the products of Loloi. They know that everybody else is endorsed it. They have a great reputation. They have a great product. So is snowballing to the point that they feel comfortable of having those products. Just like yourself, many others are out there and shopping the brand of Loloi. Once they see the brand, that just gives a stamp. I know that's going to be a great product.
That's really cool. And so one of the big partnerships was with Chip and Joanna.
Joanna, yes.
What do you hear from them? Right. We just talked about the end user. We've talked about the interior designers. We've talked about the retailers. But like, from the people that maybe are more judgmental than anybody, what do you hear from
Yes,
people like that?
obviously, yes, obviously we hear from them so much. I'm very, very close, especially to Joanna and obviously Chip as well. But we they obviously they love and trust what we're bringing in. Also they have to trust about how do we bring in products under their name also today, and how are we protecting them in terms of the products, in terms of their reputation, in terms of the value, the everything that we stand behind, how beneficial they could be instead of hurting them.
Hmm.
So those are some of the things that they see us as a very valuable partner.
Partner. Yeah.
They love to continue doing their business with us.
Did you, Cyrus mentioned the company, you like basically self-funded it. Do you ever get like investors and things like that? Like, were you consciously thinking like, let's not, we want to make sure that we have control of the company. We have the best interest of the customer at heart. We're not taking shortcuts. What you mentioned earlier, was that a conscious decision?
It was a conscious decision. I've been offered by many people, companies, venture capitals, to invest or take over or buy the Loloi brand, Loloi company. Obviously, that's not been something that has been my interest, because I have the two boys. If I didn't have the two
Hmm.
sons in the business, perhaps I would have taken a different approach and different look at it. And but they love doing what they do, and I want to support them
So
to
it's about
that.
legacy in
It's
terms of
about the
keeping it. Yeah.
legacy, absolutely. Even though they have some dreams about doing things that are perhaps without approve it or not, but they do have certain dreams that they want to push it, and I have to sometimes to pull back to say, look, do we really need it? Do I really need it? Maybe perhaps you guys doing what you want to do.
Yeah. Do you guys ever have rules that you can't talk about work at dinner, or is it just all the time?
If if you ask my wife, she says you guys talk way too much it is enough is enough, and when we get we try to have rules at least sometimes when we get together for dinner and not talk about it, but it's so natural. There's not enough time in a day for us to go over everything, so there's
Yeah.
naturally things come up.
There's this really cool quote I just wanted to read that you said, the moment you think you're successful is when you lose focus. Tell me about that.
uh I It starts from me, from the top. I'm never happy and satisfied where we are. I always tell myself when I wake up every morning, I say, I gotta do better than what I did yesterday. It is not good enough. In everything that we achieve, everything we have achieved, everything we've done has been great and wonderful. What more can we do? Whether it's taking care service-wise to our customers, to our colleagues, to our manufacturers, or to a better products, better designs. Everything I'll challenge myself. For that reason, I'll challenge everyone else in our company also. We gotta do better. The moment I cannot tell myself I'm fine where we are. I'm satisfied. The moment I think that, we get to be pulled back, slide back from going up the hills. We're gonna be easily just rolling back down. That's why I always push myself and push everyone else that if you want to be a part of the success, we gotta think above and beyond every day.
Do you think that, it's like, it reminds me of like the 1% better every day, right? You want to improve every day. Do you feel like that was that something that came natural to you? Do you think it was maybe something instilled by your parents, or like where did that come from, do you think?
I think it naturally came to me. I mean, obviously, my dad worked very hard in his life. Was one of the hardest working person I've ever met in my life. But it was just natural that this is my legacy. And that's why honestly I don't tell Cyrus and Stephen what to do. I don't tell them how many hours you should work, not, but sometimes I have to tell them, guys, slow down. There's there's a little bit of life out there too, you guys. It seems like as a family we don't have much of any other hobbies except the love for the work that we do.
How big is the company in terms of like employees at this point,
I think we
roughly?
have we have roughly over 650 employees. And then 20 years ago, I started with one employee, one, two, three, four, just keep hiring one person at a time. So, but I surround myself is not only the number, but I'm surrounding myself with some of the highest talent that that I can be able to find anywhere is bringing the best of the best in part of our company. Even if I don't need someone today, I don't have a position. If there's someone that I'll meet that is out there that there's a great potential that I see, I'll bring him off, figure out a way to to fit him into part of the organization because I know they can bring value down the road. You got to have a better, bigger foundation, a strong foundation any day to take the challenges that are ahead of you every day.
What do you think is the most important thing in hiring somebody? Yeah, I'm sure there's a list of things, but if like, hey, this is the one thing they have to have, what is that one thing?
How do they fit into culture?
Mm.
The culturally is very, very important for me to mix to get them to be a part of this organization. If they cannot fit in, they can destroy the rest of the company. So that's very, very obviously they have to have the intelligence, the common sense part of it is a big part of my when I ever sit down and interviewing anyone, that common sense part of it is something that they don't teach you in school. You have it to have it, or you don't have it. And so that's a that's very strong part that I'll look at some people. It's just that that little touch. That's
Emotional
very
intelligence.
absolutely.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
makes me think of Pat Lancioni, this author. He writes a lot of business fables. So they're like stories. He takes people's names out of them and he says the ideal team player, they're hungry, they work more than just doing the minimum. They're humble, they have the humility, and they're smart, meaning that they can be in a meeting and not say something crazy,
Yes.
right? I think that's the common sense.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
What would you say is the hardest business decision you've had to make at Loloi?
Well, I guess the hardest decision was for me to leave my ex company. That was the hardest
Starting it.
decision that
Okay.
they started. It was the hardest decision. Honestly, everything else of it is just this is so natural. Everything that we're doing is we're really making the progress, making a better life for all the employees. That's very, very important to me. Every day I think about what more can we do to make the life of the employees something that they enjoy coming to work every day. a very important part of the culture that I have in this company is we have very, very little turnovers. People love coming to work. If they don't love it, I tell them maybe perhaps this is not for you. If you're not enjoying it, don't be here.
Yeah, I mean, that's good advice. I think it could show over time too. Um, what are you most proud of with the company over the last, 20 plus years? What's your most sort of accomplishment that you're most proud of?
That when I get in meetings, sitting down with meetings with customers, when they talk about how well your products are doing, how amazed they are comparing to the competition, is and how well your products are selling. I think that's that's the really a joy that I get. It's not for me making another dollar here, is the fact that our products does well. That uh, one of the highest joy, or one of the biggest achievement, I think, is where we have our competition talks about Loloi company in a positive way, in a way of, wow, what are they doing differently? When our customers come and tell us that the rest of the world are looking at you guys as the leader of an industry in a multiple aspects of it, not only the products, but that integrity, the trust, the relationships, the everything that we bring in. Uh, that's the biggest joy and fun that I get to have by sitting down and hearing those from our customers and from our factories and the people that they work with.
That's really cool. I don't want to forget to ask you, when you think of your time at Loloi, was there a setback? When you think about learning from setbacks, learning from failures, was there ever something that comes to mind? Maybe it was 10 years ago, but you think about that you've learned from, maybe that you shared with the boys since they've come on board.
Every day I feel like that I'm learning something. There's not a day that the day that I don't learn something. That's just but I don't necessarily call it a setback. It was just that you learn what do we got to do to improve ourselves. That's where I I push myself and everybody else. How do we improve it? How do we get better? What do we got to do differently today? What do we got to do differently tomorrow? And that's where I really have not seen a setback. I mean, obviously there were scary times, scary days of when COVID just hit. You just nobody knew where we were gonna do, where we were gonna go. That was for me to go and lock myself in our house and home, not be able to be associated coming to the office every day. That was something that is just that was some of the little bit of darker days that I remember in a history of a company. But that was what I looked at as everybody else were in the same boat.
Yeah. Rewind 20 years. What advice would you give yourself in 2004, knowing what you know now?
Perhaps I could have started a few years earlier. Well, I could have been a little younger. Uh, Other than that, really is there's how to become smarter to have a little bit of joy in life also as well, because everything is all about the life of of being in the company, being around with the people that I come to work every day and being with the people. So there's just times that I tell myself, could you have done something a little differently? You could have had a little bit more time. But it's the blessing is I get to see the kids, my sons. I don't call them kids. My sons now every
Yeah.
day be able to work together, even though at a younger days I traveled a lot. I wasn't around as much as I should have, but I get to enjoy them now. So
That's really
nothing to
cool.
regret. Nothing to regret.
Is there anything you feel like we've missed? I've got one more question for you, just around Loloi or anything that you think is important to share that we might have missed.
Yeah, just if I'm really becoming so much of a guide, of a coach every day now. I'm giving all the ton of my responsibilities to so many of these great talents that are brought into this company. Uh, for me to be able to coach and be around with the people, just give them the advices of how to do better every day. Uh, if part that I think we didn't talk about so much is you don't forget who brought you where you are in life, and that is really whether the greatest manufacturers, people around the world that who helped you to be supporting you where you are, or to their customers to help you. They're still your customers, still take, they give you the business, but also the employees of the company, the people that they bring in so much of their time and their life to the company to help you where you are, where you want to be, where you want to go. Those are the most important assets that we have that we should not forget about them. That's what I do every day to see what else that I can be able to do to make a better life for the employees of this company.
Is there something that you do or say, or because I feel like you mentioned making sure people are happy. If they're unhappy, they should find something else. And I feel like that's probably one of the hardest things, or I don't know why many bosses ignore just happiness. Are my employees happy? Is there a way that you would share that maybe you would try to find out if they are happy outside of just asking, or maybe you just ask them? I don't know, like how do you gauge someone's
Uh,
happiness, your employees and whatnot?
I reach out. I meet with so many of our leaders every day or every week that I'm in touch. You got to stay close in touch with people. You got to
Hmm.
know what is happening inside of your company. Not necessarily macromanage the people, but know what are the issues, what are the needs, you gotta think about what more is there that potentially if you were on their side, because I was there in their side 20 years ago, 20 years, 21 years ago, I was on the other side. What could make me happy? What can I take home tonight to my family from my work that I can tell this to my spouse? Look, I love doing what I do. That's if the Loloi employees members they go home happy, that happiness reflection carries on and brings back to work the next day. If they're not happy, that would not be a long lasting relationship with me and the employees of the company. That's what I'm hoping the both of my sons will learn and continue to carry on that legacy, carry on that culture for beyond my existence.
If we fast forward 20 years from now, what would you hope Cyrus and Steven say about you as a dad?
Uh, wow, that's a loaded question. uh, Dad brought a lot to the community, to the industry that he loved, that he was be able to touch people's heart he set higher a standard in every aspect of it than anybody else could ever imagine. And carry that legacy, carry that for the rest of their lives. And hopefully, even when I have my grandkids in a business, they can see some of that and they can deal with some of that the same way that the grandpa was dealing with.
I love that. Last question for you. Let's say you're talking to someone early on in their career. They want to make an impact in this world. What are 2 or 3 general pieces of life or career advice that you would impart on them?
Sure. Don't ever give up. Don't underestimate yourself. Don't be cocky. Be humble. Look, don't blame anyone else. Don't blame that I come from a different culture. I come from a different background. I come from a different religion. I speak a different language. The opportunities are there for anyone and everyone. It's not about the color of your skin. It's not about what you've you're born to. It's who you should be yourself and how willing and how hard you want to work. The recipe is in your hand. You are the one. Build on your career, build on your life, whether you're part of our organization or not, anywhere you are, you should have that for the rest of your life.
That's great advice. That's awesome. I appreciate you just leaning into all these questions. I mean, the moment I saw that video, I said I would love to talk to Amir. Like just because I feel like there's so many career lessons, but life lessons I think that we can all learn from. So I really appreciate you leaning into this.